Alright, and welcome back to the second part of the Doepfer A140 ADSR envelope generator demo. Last time we left off with this sound right here. We were looking at it in the low position here, and in this section we're going to jump into the exploration of the envelope generator, but in the medium position, and we're going to see exactly how that is going to help us affect our sound. So with the same sound, I thought it would be useful to hear this in the medium setting, so we're actually just going to flip over to the medium setting and hear what that sounds like. Here we go. Okay, so now this is our sound coming into here, a far cry from the kick drum that we had originally. Now, the settings are slightly different, possibly. So let's maybe bring the attack down and see what happens to our sound. So with a short attack time, now we can really hear the idea of attack, because the sound immediately starts at a loud position, whereas if you bring the attack time up, it sort of fades into that loud initial time. Now you can further shape the sound by going to your decay, getting just a little bit of a subtle change going on there, but the biggest change is going to come from the sustain. Now again, just like we saw in the initial demo with the low position, if I bring my settings all to the 0 position, I get a very short sound. Pretty close to even our kick sound that we had earlier. Although it is slightly different. Maybe if I tweak the sustain, I can maybe get my kick back. But I can also see even a little bit better of an effect with my release setting now. If you have several notes going on, it allows you to kind of make them more connected with a longer release. Then they just kind of blend into one another as it moves from one note to another. Whereas if I bring my release time all the way down, it's very abrupt. And you can even see it with the light. It sustains and then it just kind of goes off. But if I bring my release time up, it fades out slowly. Okay, so let's play with this a little bit more. Let's bring down our release time. And let's bring down our attack. And let's just have a really long sustain time. So there we're just getting kind of the loud part. We're just kind of flying through the first two stages of the envelope. And if I go to my release time, they'll blend a little bit more. So even by using only 2 of the stages in the envelope, I can get some fairly interesting sounds. Definitely a different flavor than I had before, where I was actually using all 4. And it is similar to having a kind of a sustained kick. But with a shorter release, of course, you get that kind of abrupt cutoff. Let's see if we can get back to that kind of pad sound that we had a little while ago. So sustain was down a little bit. It's similar to what we had before. Now, I'm coming to this because I wanted to give another demonstration of the retrigger, but in the medium setting. So we're going to use our friend the A147 LFO over here to trigger the envelope while the gate is being held down over here. So let's hear what that sounds like. At a certain point, if I take this a little bit too fast, because of the duration of the envelope, it's not really going to gel with that, so you won't really hear a doubling effect. But if I find that little magic place right there in the center, I can get it to retrigger. And while I have it there, let's see if I can. I lost it a little bit. Still a little bit too fast. It can be a little bit of a challenge here, at least with this particular setup. Now there are some setups where it would be second nature. Frequency down so that I could get that happening. And you can see the gate over here indicating when it's being retriggered. Okay, now with that in mind, now that we have the retrigger happening, let's try the inverse output again. And we're going to actually feed this into the pitch of our oscillator. So we should get a slightly adjusted pitched version of our oscillator going into our filter over here. Let's go into CV1. Let's try a different octave because we seem to have gone a little bit too low there. Fairly interesting sound. At this point, you can kind of adjust it. And it's almost like a reverse bounce almost. But keep in mind that this is going to affect both the envelope being fed to our amplifier over here in combined mode, as well as the pitch. Now, it may be a little bit more effective to get a nice little sound here, because I don't dislike this sound, but I just think it could be better. Let me unpatch it, and let me go over here to my CV2. And then bring in CV2. At this point, if I want to, I can lose my retrigger. Patch that. One interesting thing I ran into just when I was doing this was just because out of curiosity, I wanted to see, well, what's going to happen if I patch my positive envelope into here and then my negative envelope into here. Let's see what that does. And I'll turn CV2 up So hopefully it'll reproduce exactly what I heard. So here it comes, which is nothing. So the positive and the negative together cancel each other out, and then you have no sound coming out. So just a little interesting thing here. Not necessarily the most useful, but interesting nonetheless when I was exploring this. So at this point, you can just start adjusting it to taste, adjust the frequency of your trigger if you want to, so you get an idea of what the sound is going to do with the different types of settings. And there we have kind of a percussive type sound. I wouldn't necessarily call it a kick drum, but especially in that octave, but we could go down maybe. Maybe more like a tom this time around. A little more of a resonant tom right there. And I could bring my frequency up. Or I could bring my pitch of my oscillator down a little bit. Closer to a kick now. I can also just slightly change the tune setting. Kind of adjust my kick if I want to, just more in the subtle range. Getting a nice little ringing, almost 808 sound, but not quite there yet. Very hard to reproduce though. So I hope this has helped you a little bit, giving you an idea of what the different settings are. One last thing that I want to do before we go on to the third part, which I am going to have to change the modules. Initially I thought I was going to change the modules for the medium demo, but then I reconsidered because I thought, well, it's very interesting when you keep one sound and then you move from each setting. So, but for the last demo we are going to jump into a little bit of a set change here, because with the high setting, of course, the envelope can take up to minutes to kind of evolve over its setting. So I thought maybe a different sound source would help us sort of hear what that sounds like a little bit better. But the last thing is I just want to hear, so that you can hear too, what this same sound sounds like in our low position. So we're going to go kind of forward and then back. Now we're back to very small kick sound. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this, or at least got some interesting information out of it. There are a lot of great sources out there if you want to delve into the understanding of an ADSR a little bit deeper. Books of all shapes and sizes. The Doepfer Secrets of Analog and Digital Synthesis comes to mind, at least to my mind. But there are a lot of other good books out there. Computer Music, Charles Dodge, lots of other books. I recommend reading one or several books 5 or 6 times through. No, not really, but as many times as you think it takes for you to get it, as long as you're having fun.